The World Health Organization says it doesn't recommend trade and travel restrictions in the wake of the outbreak. But that hasn't stopped at least 22 countries from imposing some form of travel restrictions on people coming from China. They include the United States, Israel, the Philippines, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, New Zealand, and North Korea, Indonesia, and Iraq, which have issued temporary travel bans on people travelling or transiting from the mainland. China's neighbours like Russia, Mongolia and Nepal are closing their borders and checkpoints, while others are introducing stricter controls. Meanwhile, Singapore, Vietnam, Russia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Kazakhstan and Mozambique have temporarily stopped issuing visas to Chinese nationals. Nearly 40 airlines from across the world have stopped or partially suspended operations to and from China. Something else appears to be spreading fast to communities, big and small, due to ignorance and misinformation. Andrew Chappell has more.
The coronavirus outbreak has led to complaints about a rise in anti-Chinese sentiment around the world. In France, for example, the hashtag #IamNotAvirus is being used to share stories of bullying in schoolyards and city streets and of hostile treatment by the media. A regional newspaper has had to apologize for this headline that used the phrase yellow alerts, while scenes like this one you're about to see here are widespread of people appearing to cover their face just because they're sitting next to someone who's Asian.
I was in the metro going to work and I sat down on the seat. Then the person sitting next to me moved over by a few centimetres. If he could have moved a few metres, he would have, but at least it was just a few centimetres. He then covered his mouth with a scarf. I was shocked and speechless. I didn't know why and I didn't want to fan the flames, so I didn't say anything. But I really wanted to tell him that what he'd done wasn't okay. It's the first time that's happened to me.
We've seen the awakening of a latent racism, which we already knew was there, but which is now completely out in the open, with words and behaviour that are disrespectful, impolite, or even clearly racist.
And media outlets across Europe and Australia are facing criticism for cartoons and headlines that reinforce old anti-Asian stereotypes, as are businesses like this nail salon in Vietnam, which has banned their Chinese customers. Now, these stories naturally make people feel very uncomfortable and unwelcome in their own communities. Brian Levin is the director of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino. He says that ignorance and misinformation about the coronavirus has a big part to play.
Prejudice works with regard to its depth. So some people might just be honestly fearful but ignorant, and we're in a very tribal and polarized time where the information flow sometimes is stovepiped, where people are talking to other conspiracists or ignorant people. And what we've learned is that if people feel fear, we have three parts of prejudice. One is the cognitive, how we experience and perceive something. The other is how emotionally we feel about it, and then how do we behaviorally respond to it. And unfortunately, when there's a surfeit of ignorance, that will be like a funnel that will allow these other negative stereotypes to take root. That's why it's so important for government agencies and officials to be ahead of the wave and explain as best as they can about the risks. Indeed, in the United States, we have thousands upon thousands of people die from the traditional flu every year. So we have to put it in some kind of perspective when we're reporting these kinds of things.